Good morning, and welcome to another inspiring episode of the Good Morning Minute podcast, where we start the day with purpose, passion, and a little bit of power. I'm your host, Angelina Mojica, and today's conversation is part of our special series in partnership with the Empower Her Steps virtual conference, a movement rooted in helping women rise, heal, and walk boldly into the life God has designed for them. Our mission is simple but powerful, empowering life purpose, because we believe when a woman finds clarity in her calling, everything changes for her family, her community, and the generations to come. So friends, grab your cup of coffee, take a deep breath as we get ready to dive into real stories, honest lessons, and bold steps towards purpose with our incredible guest. And our guest today is Mandy. Mandy, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, thank you for having me here today.
Absolutely. Well, I'm looking forward to getting to know you a little bit better. But before we do so, I'd like you just to take a moment to introduce yourself to our listeners.
Okay, so my name's Mandy Metters, and I'm the founder of Grounded and Healing. I decided to start this business after coming out of a really abusive marriage,
Mhm.
overcoming addiction and chronic pain, and I just wanted to share that healing with other women.
Wonderful. Well, I'm excited to get to know that part of the story and just, have a conversation with you. I have a question that I ask many of my guests. It's kind of a fun icebreaker question. My question to you today is, are you a sunrise or sunset person?
Oh, sunrise. I am definitely an early bird.
Wonderful. I'm more of a sunset. I feel like my energy starts coming to life as the sun goes down. But if the day dictates me being a sunrise person, I definitely can step into that as well. So wonderful. All right. Well, let's just get into the heart of our conversation. And I'm just going to ask you, what was a moment of challenge or pain in your life, and how did it impact you?
Um, Picking just one. I would say one of the most challenging things for me probably was when I left my abusive marriage.
Mhm.
We'd been together 14, 15 years, and I thought once I left, I would feel so much better. And that just wasn't my experience. I actually found the challenges got much worse after,
Mhm.
with post separation abuse and also with my own mental health. I thought once I was free, I'd be okay. And actually, it got so much worse. And that was, like I said at the start, didn't know about my addiction problems. That was when my addiction really got so much worse. And the shame and guilt that I carried from that was unbearable at times.
Wow. Let's talk a little bit about the shame and guilt, because sometimes that's what keeps us in the moment, right? That's what keeps us kind of just reliving, those part of ourselves or our story that we're trying to break free from, we're trying to get out of, but because there's so much shame and guilt, it just kind of keeps us in that repetitive state where we're running into the same situations. They may be different faces or different scenarios, but it's pretty much the same, all because of shame and guilt. So explain that just a little bit further.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd found for me that when I left, I really judged myself. And I was
Mhm.
so worried that other people were judging me for the choices that I'd made, for the things that I carried on doing. I was behaving in ways which just, for me, it just felt really unacceptable, saying and
Mhm.
doing things which was really unacceptable, behaving, drinking too much. It was it was a really painful time, and the more that I beat myself up, the longer that I stayed in that place, the more that I
Mhm.
judged myself and the more shame that I felt, and the less able I felt to ask for help as well. It was a really lonely, horrible place to be. Um, and I'm hoping speaking out about it, somebody else will feel like they can reach out sooner, hopefully.
Yeah, no, and I think you're hitting the nail on the head, so to speak, when you say that, because when we share our stories and we are operating in our truth, it helps enable another person to have the courage to do the same for themselves. And we're not looking for immediate transformation. I mean, those stories happen, but they're very rare. It is a process in its place, right? There's one thing that you have to do after another thing. So kind of looking at your own situation, Mandy, what were the processes? What were the steps that you took to get from this lonely place, this just state of, chaos into more of a healing mindset? And, what did that growth look like for you?
Yeah, for me, it was definitely many, many steps. And I wish I could tell you that I'd gone to see a counselor and all of a sudden everything was fixed and everything was fine. But
Sure.
that wasn't my story.
Mhm.
I'd gone to see a counselor and I actually felt so much worse. It
Mm,
was the strangest thing. I came out of there feeling awful, having worse panic attacks. My sleep got worse. Didn't work for me. Eventually, I ended up starting 12-step meetings, and that was probably where my healing journey really began, asking for help there. Um, and once I'd made that step, I took a step back, in fact, actually, and I went back to my ex, thinking, oh, maybe things will be different this time.
mhm,
And I think that was actually quite necessary for me to move forward.
mhm,
Um, so yeah, I ended up relapsing, and it was it was an awful, awful time. And I remember thinking, I don't ever want to feel like this again. But you, I heard so many things, time heals all wounds, all these sorts of things that you hear, and it's just
yeah,
that wasn't the case. And I needed an actual plan for how to get better. So I started doing things like listening to podcasts and teaching myself and figuring out what was it I needed to do. So I needed to come back to my body. I needed to ground. I started doing a lot of somatic therapy
mhm,
and I went for EMDR. I had lots of different interventions, and it's probably taken me about 6, 7 months of really intense interventions to
mm,
overcome the agoraphobia that I was feeling, to actually feel all right in myself, to gain some of my self-worth and self-esteem back.
mhm.
It was quite a long time.
I appreciate the vulnerability that you're sharing here because in many of our stories and even in my own, like there are setbacks. I
Mm,
think we try to beat ourselves because it's like we have to be perfect in this moment of transition, right? And that's not the case. It's not about perfection. It's just about recognizing and being aware, like this is where I was. I've taken some steps forward to heal, and even though I have some setbacks or backslide or whatever, a relapse,
mm,
you're still not where you began. You're still ahead, right? So it's easy for us in that moment of pivot to say, you know what, it's not gonna work out for me. I'm just gonna stay here and this is just my life.
mm,
Or have that mindset of, you know what? It's okay. It's a setback, but I'm going to give myself grace. I'm going to give myself love and compassion, and I'm going to get back up on my feet, and I'm going to continue to walk forward into this healing and growing, utilizing the resources. And you mentioned like podcasts and just different, meetings and things like that that you use to help you move
mm.
forward. And that's the thing right there. And I think that's something that's important that you're saying in your story is that I didn't ever want to go back to where I was. I didn't want to feel like this again. That's important because knowing you have an awareness and you're making the changes. So you're also seeing what it's like to be on the other side of this
Mm.
situation. When did you start sensing that there's a purpose behind your struggles and the circumstances that you're finding yourself in?
The more that I spoke to friends, family, and just women in general,
Sure.
I was shocked at the fact that every woman that I spoke to had uh, experience of either domestic abuse or sexual abuse. And I thought, this isn't spoken about enough. The side effects aren't really spoken about enough. The protective sort of mechanisms that we create ourselves, which look really destructive,
Mhm.
that's not taught enough to people. And I realized then that actually, if I can use my story to help other people, then that's what I want my life to be about. Um, and it's what I do now. And it makes me so happy to watch people start to find and discover themselves. Um, yeah, I think, sorry. Um, yeah, just realizing every woman has a story to tell
Mhm.
and need help.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're right. Everybody has a story to tell, and you're breaking so many mindsets as far as when you're talking about coming out of a domestic abusive relationship, you're coming out of addiction. Like those are all things that you're having to restructure your identity and who you believe you are. Because definitely there's a belief system that put you in that place, and now you're having to reconstruct what that belief system is to pull you out, right? To pull you out. Talk a little bit about kind of how your story has shaped who you are today.
So, I think my story has probably made me a very compassionate person, very
Mm,
understanding. Um, I try my best to not judge people
mhm,
because as I said, I try and look at people and think, what's happened to you for you to behave like that? What has happened? Rather than, it's very easy, especially in a time of social media, to look at people and just think, I don't know, everybody's very judgmental, aren't they?
mhm,
Um, yeah, I would say it's just, and I think once you've got to a point where you feel like you've lost everything, you have so much gratitude for everything that you have. I think
mhm.
it's made me quite a positive person in general, which I know sounds really backwards to have gone through so many negative experiences and to come out and have a really positive mindset. But I really do believe that post traumatic stress isn't a life sentence, and we can actually grow after it and have a better life because of it. And again, I know that's probably quite a big statement to make, but that really is my true belief.
Yeah. I like that you're saying this. I like that you're saying, it's almost like you're contradictory, right? Be
Mm,
positive even though you're coming out of negative situations. That's the growth right there. That's the shift in the mind is, yes, I've experienced some very ugly things in life. I've experienced some very hurtful things in life, but I refuse to allow it to dictate who I am or how I'm going to react or respond in to the rest of my life. And when you can grasp that and understand that it's not something is it's not something that has to tell you who you are, that you can actually take control over that and say, no, I'm going to tell you who I'm going to be, even though this
mm,
has happened to me. And I can look at people and say, you know what, I love you, I can be compassionate, I can be empathetic, I can understand and remove the judgment from my eyes so I can look at you and say, what happened? Because that's the
mm,
question. That's the question behind every behavior. I work with children in child welfare, and that's the question. They're doing some crazy behaviors, and we automatically want to go to like, oh my gosh, that's a troubled teen, or that's a bad
mm,
kid, or whatever. That and we do it to adults too. We label them too, but it really isn't about the behavior. It's about what are they trying to communicate from
mm,
the place that they're at. So what happens? I like that you mentioned that. I think that's important to highlight. Um, so Mandy, taking your experience and kind of taking your healing journey, because and just to emphasize, a healing journey never really truly ends because you're always healing, and it's spirals and dips and curves and all of the things. It's not a linear process, but taking that you're on this journey, what kind of advice would you give to somebody that maybe starting the journey or maybe trying to figure out if they even want to change their life, like they're in that in between moment? What kind of
mm.
advice would you give that person?
That's such a big one. I think I would say have no expectations of yourself, of time
Mhm.
limits. Um, be gentle with yourself as well. You know, as you said, it will be spirals and dips, and it's not all straight. You know, I shared, didn't I, that I'd gone back in a couple of ways, but it
Mhm.
didn't mean that I was back to the beginning. You know, there will be difficulties, but you can always come back from it. And I would say probably try seeking help where you can as well. Don't try and do it alone. You know,
Mhm.
I don't think I'd have been able to do it if it wasn't for 12-step fellowship. I don't think I'd have been able to do it without the support of therapists. So, yeah, yeah.
Mm. I love that you're talking about finding people that are in it with you, that are going to uplift you and hold you responsible and move you forward. And because you do, when you're trying to remove trauma from your life, you have to, it also sometimes comes with removing people from your life just because
Mm,
they're still in that mindset that you were operating from. And if you're changing that, then you've got to find people, a community that are going to support where you're going. And so
mm,
I love that you're highlighting that, and that being the advice, because it's such it's wise words, it's wisdom that's coming from your story that, for you to connect with someone else that's trying to figure it out for themselves. Um, so let's talk a little bit about who you are today and what does living with purpose look like for you now?
okay, so today, um, I live a really nice life. I am present with my family, with my friends. I have a really good social life. I have lots of hobbies that I just didn't even know that I would enjoy. I when I came out of that relationship, I didn't even know what food I liked, what music I liked. I didn't know anything, and I've
Yeah.
gone on a big self discovery and helping other women coming through what I've been through, whether that be sponsoring in 12 steps or working with grounded and healing, specifically helping women through trauma. Both of those just give me so much purpose and make me so happy. As I said, it's post traumatic growth. I wouldn't have had that had I not gone through such things.
Mhm. Wonderful. I like that you're talking about being intentional in every moment. You started out with I am present with my family. And that's so important because when we are living from a survivor mentality and brain set, we aren't connected. We aren't enjoying the moments that are in our present. We're living from our past, our memories, and so it hinders us from building like solid relationships and really truly connecting in the moment because we're not even there. We're not even there when we're in that mindset. So I appreciate so much that you're talking about being present and in the moment and that being intentional in living in your purpose today. Um, so as we start getting closer to the end of our conversation, Mandy, I do have a question of legacy and impact that I ask all my guests on the show, and that is, if today were your last day, what would you want to be remembered for?
Oh, wow. That's another really big question. Oh, I don't know. I think I'd want to be remembered as somebody who was kind and tried to make change where I could for the better.
Wonderful. Simply said, with such wisdom, I think I often remember someone doing a presentation who said, people don't remember what you did or what you said, but how you made them feel. And that's the thing that comes to mind when you give that remembrance of you is I want people to remember their impression of me when I was in their company, just the way I made them feel and that embrace. So that's wonderful. Okay, so my last question to you, Mandy, today is if you could leave maybe a bit of truth or a word of encouragement to someone listening today who is still trying to figure out their purpose, what would it be?
Oh, I would say stop trying to figure it out and feel what feels right for you. I think
Wow.
we get a lot more from our feelings than we do when we try and figure and think things. We overthink sometimes. Just go with what feels good for you.
I love that. And it's so simply stated, but I get the chills just hearing you say that because it resonates and it hits so deeply within my core because a lot, just going back to from survival mentality, you disconnect from your feelings, you disconnect from wanting to even know. I mean, and you even said it like you're on this self-discovery of what kind of music do I like? What kind of
Mm.
things that make me smile? Like what is it that really ignites my passion? And that's so important is really going back to allowing yourself to be present and in the moment, but also feeling what that is, because that's your guiding compass as far as I feel that this is right for me. I don't feel that this is right for me, and being able to understand who you are. So that's beautifully said. Um, Mandy, I don't know if you're doing anything on social media or if someone wanted to get in contact with you, how could they do so outside of this podcast?
Yeah. So if anybody wanted to get hold of me, they go to Facebook and Rooted and Rising Trauma Recovery. That is my group, and I would love to hear from people.
Wonderful. All right. And then if you didn't get it here, that's okay because it'll be posted with the interview. Just look on that information. Mandy, I just want to say thank you so much for sharing your heart, your story, and your light with us today. Conversations like this remind us purpose isn't about perfection. No, it's about showing up. It's about growing through the things that we go through and understanding that every step matters. Here on the Good Morning Minute and through the Empower Her Steps movement, we believe every woman has a purpose worth discovering and a voice worth using. So wherever you are today, friends, remember your purpose is powerful and you're not walking alone. So until next time, keep rising, keep trusting, keep walking boldly into the life God has designed for you. I'm Angelina Mojica, your life coach, sending you much love, much peace, many blessings.